Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. My name is Sky, and I've been getting tons of questions about PvP builds and when to use which specific build at what time. This video is going to cover the best builds that cover all aspects of PvP and a quick setup guide to get you up and running for each of them. It's going to cover perks, the strengths of each build, what scenario to use it in, talents, armors, gems, and stats setup. So, let's begin with the first build, the Lone Wolf. So starting off with the Lone Wolf build, it is my favorite build to play with the musket. Some of the strengths for this build are that it's incredibly strong for solo PvP, it has great sustain due to scent of blood, it has amazing range damage pairing powder burn and shooter stance, great melee survivability due to the movement speed increases, and great for 1vx scenarios. This is really your jack of all trades build that can cover almost all PvP content and especially dominates solo PvP. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're in game right now, and to build out the core of the Lone Wolf build, here is going to be the main three abilities. It's going to be traps, it's going to be powder burn, and shooter stance. Now these three are the core of this build. Now to flesh it out a little bit more, we're going to increase our range damage by upgrading powder burn's abilities, and we're going to also grab shooter stance's abilities as well. Now to keep melee off of you, because now we have some range DPS covered, to keep melee off you now, we're going to grab trap damage, hustle, scent of blood for the 100% healing, that's a game changer, and double traps. This right here gives you some movement and mobility and self-sustain while you're alone. A mandatory perk for almost all builds is going to be tactical reload, so we're going to grab that. And now we're just going to finish fleshing out that sharpshooter tree. We're going to grab empowering headshot, heightened precision, hit your mark, ballistic advantage, and sniper. Grabbing all these right here, these key abilities, makes you a very, very deadly threat from ranged. Now with this last point, you have a choice. You can either get more execute damage for a 10% increased damage to targets below 30% health, or you can get a little bit more mobility will back it up. Personally, I like to take the salt on the wounds for that execute damage, but if you want to play more of the mid-range role, grab back it up. For your armor setup for the Lone Wolf build, you're going to want to go light armor. You're going to want to go as mobile as possible and as much damage as possible at ranged, so when they finally do get up to you, you can execute them with that rapier that is paired with that emerald. Now if you're running a melee weapon with your musket, it's important to note that this build's primary DPS is going to be your musket. So you're going to use that melee weapon as an executioner, like the spear or the rapier. You're going to use that as an executioner to finish off targets when they get close to you. I personally like to pair an onyx gem with my musket. That gives me the ability to get a complete opener on someone that they're unsuspecting of, and I can really burst them on 1 to 2 shots before they even realize they're getting shot at by an enemy player. This right here will give you the chance to, kill one target, if there is 2, before they even realize what's hitting them. Now just to recap, for the Lone Wolf, we're going to grab light armor for the extra damage and mobility, and then we're going to grab the onyx damage for that big burst opener that they're unsuspecting of. Now when you're running that Lone Wolf build, you're going to want to make sure you grab at least 50 constitution. That gives you the most self-sustain with the 20% stronger potions, and also you're going to want to grab the 300 dexterity for the automatic guaranteed crit. With the rest of your points, you want to dump the rest into intelligence, and then you should be good to go. Having this setup right here gives you very, very good survivability and high damage from ranged. Now, let's move on to our second build. Moving along to our second build, the Musketeer. The main strengths of this build is that it is a mid-ranged monster. It has amazing utility damage, it brings a high amount of debuffs and destroys backline and melee, and excels very well in things like outpost rush and war. If you're looking to play a musket build that doesn't require you to be 50 to 100 meters away, this is your build. It brings heavy AoE damage with sticky bomb automatic crits, and absolutely chunks people if they have debuffs on them. The main core of the Musketeer build is going to be as follows. You're going to grab powder burn, you're going to grab traps, and you're going to grab sticky bomb. This right here brings you a lot of debuffs and group damage. Now, if someone happens to land on your trap, that should be game over for them. The idea of this build is using sticky bomb on cooldown, as well as tossing out traps as much as possible, hoping that someone lands on them. If someone happens to land on them, you can all in them and completely decimate them. We're going to finish out the talent tree with Empowering Weakness and Weakened Defense for armor penetration and debuff damage. We're going to grab Scent of Blood for the healing, Double Trap so you have 2. We're going to grab Tactical Reload and Kick them when they're down. Kick them when they're down and Empowering Weakness together really go hand in hand to give you an extra burst damage when you need it. We're also going to grab Salt on the Wound and finish out the Powder Burn tree. One thing to note while you're playing this build, try to get the perk that slows them when you have Powder Burn for an additional debuff slot as well. We're going to grab Lethal Combo for 20% additional damage to someone affected by a Trapper Tree status effect. And we're going to grab Hustle for the movement speed. We're also going to grab Unflinching Walk and Sticky Slow, so if you do land that Sticky Bomb, it could mean the absolute end of that player. For the last point, I like to grab Empowering Headshot because you can get guaranteed critical hits while they're trapped, or a guaranteed critical hit after you dodge with the 300 Dexterity talent point. While you're playing the Musketeer, you're going to want to have medium armor. This is going to be a build that is mostly in the mid-range, so you're going to be taking a lot of damage. Now, having light armor for something like that isn't really possible. You know, having the medium armor and having some nice damage reduction as well as being a little bit more healthier is going to mean the world in this build. For this build, I would not recommend the Onyx. I would recommend either the Opal or the Emerald for the execute damage or the damage while you do not have full stamina. Now, personally for the attributes, I always love to have 300 Dexterity for that automatic big burst crit. Now, if I didn't have any item buffs and equipment that gave me intelligence and had the rest into Constitution, I would have 100 Constitution and 300 Dexterity. That's kind of what you're aiming for. You want to have around 100 Dexterity because increasing max health by 10% of your armor is very, very important in a build like this because you're going to be in that mid-range. You're going to take a lot of damage very easily. So having that for more sustain and more, health is very, very important. Now, if you don't want to go for the 300 Dexterity, that's fine. You can go for the 250 and then grab some even more Constitution, or just make sure you hit that 100 Constitution mark, because the Musketeer is all about going all in on targets who are debuffed by your abilities. So make sure you keep note of that. Now let's move on to our final build. The Sniper is an absolute monster in group content. If you have the ability to just sit back, relax, and shoot people, it is a dream come true for this spec. You can destroy people from absolutely miles away and they don't even know what's hitting them. This build is primarily used for group content and war PvP. The strengths of this build is that it is the ranged king. If you land your shots, you can kill almost anyone. You can also 3-shot light armor or backline targets as well. Now here's going to be a quick talent tree guide for the Sniper. There's really 2 different versions. One where you run Power Shot and one where you run Sticky Bomb. Let's go with the Power Shot first. So we're going to pick up Power Shot. We're going to grab Powder Burn, finish these out, as well as grabbing Shooter Stance for the ultimate Sniper and range DPS abilities. We're going to also finish out Power Shot and grab Sniper. Then we're going to finish it up with our usual suspects of the range DPS tree. We're going to grab Salt on the Wounds for the execute damage. We're going to grab Weakened Defense for the armor penetration, Hustle, and Tactical Reload for the instant reloads. Then lastly, with our last point, we're going to grab Empowering Headshot for the 10% increased damage when you critically strike. Now this is the basic build with the Power Shot. Now if you weren't going to run Power Shot, you would instead run Sticky Bomb. You would grab Called Shot, Empowering Headshot, Powder Burn, finish that out, Shooter Stance, finish that out, and then the usual suspects again, which is Heightened Precision, Hit Your Mark, and Ballistic Advantage, and finally Sniper. Now, with these last 2 points, you can grab something like Empowering Weakness and kick them when they're down for dealing extra damage to targets with that Powder Burn debuff on them. Now, the armor setup for the Sniper build is going to be light. You're going to want to deal a maximum amount of damage from very, very far away. So you're going to want that extra damage from the light equip load. The gems I would recommend for this build would be number 1, the Onyx for the big burst damage on the opening shot, the Diamond for the high consistency damage because you aren't going to get attacked and you can get very good value out of it, or the Emerald for the very, very powerful execute damage. With this build, you're going to want to dump all of your points into dexterity and intelligence. Personally, I like taking the 300 dexterity for the automatic crit. As you can see, there's a pattern here. I think the final talent for the dexterity is absolutely broken, but I would definitely recommend taking 300 dexterity and dumping the rest into intelligence. Now, if you don't want 300 dexterity, you can go 250 and then you can grab 100 intelligence for the extra 10% critical hit damage, and you can be set. You don't have to focus anything really on constitution. This is really from my other build, but you would mostly go dexterity, intelligence, and you don't have to put anything into constitution. Also, make sure your gear is primarily full dexterity or full intelligence. Like I have this helmet that is 16 intelligence. I have these gloves that are 21 dexterity. This is really ideally what you want to see from this build, because you're not going to really be getting hit. The only time you're going to be getting hit is from ranged casters or DPS, and you should be able to take care of them with this specific build. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought of each build and which one was your favorite. Do you all like the musket? Do you think it's good in PvP? Let us know below. I want to thank you all for stopping by for this Comeback Kids video. My name is Sky, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!